All right, and up next we have another Palm device. This is the Palm Treo 700p, released in 2006, 1 year later than the TX, but it's a full-fledged phone now, not just a PDA. Has an Intel X-Scale 312 megahertz processor, 2.8-inch screen, TFT of course, resistive touchscreen. 1.3 megapixel camera at the back with a self-portrait mirror was the last time you saw that, huh? Removable battery, of course. And of course has a physical keyboard. This is actually one of the first smartphones I ever saw advertised in a flyer, and I thought this was really cool looking. I mean, look at this antenna, right? When was the last time you ever saw a phone have an antenna like that? That's really old school. But yeah, this is one of the first smartphones I saw in the paper. This, along with you know, obviously Blackberries were there. The Blackberry Pearl, I think, was being advertised at the time. The Motorola Q, the Samsung Blackjack. Yeah, all these phones. This is before the iPhone came out. All these phones kind of had the similar kind of design here, with the smile type of the Blackberry smile type of keyboard being popularized here. And the Palm Treo has these Nokia style buttons here, left and right here. All right, and it's got volume rockers on the side. I think this is some type of hold button right there. Yep, it's got mic. It's got a full-size SD card slot right here, and it's got volume, mute, on and off. Of course, comes with a stylus because it's a resistive touchscreen. Charges via the proprietary Palm charger cable, and headphone jack, of course. So let's turn it on. Palm 700p. But all right, so let's set the key, date and time. All right, so this is the phone interface for Palm OS right here for the Treo, and of course resistive touchscreen. Gotta use a stylus for everything. Contacts, Bluetooth. I wonder if this will work with modern Bluetooth devices like a speaker or a headphone or something. Not sure, because back then Bluetooth pretty much only meant those little like wireless headsets. That's pretty much what people used for Bluetooth back then. Really, Bluetooth was kind of in its infancy back then. All right, so this is the phone button, right, which I can easily access here, and then calendar. The Palm OS calendar. See my tasks, daily schedule. Can make an appointment here, something like that. Palm OS is a very, very you know, it has PDA PIM roots, so that's why it looks so much like a organizer type of interface. You know, it's not meant to be a smartphone interface. They just converted it to a smartphone interface, but originally, you know, it was meant for just for PDAs. Verizon, wow. Yeah, this is for email. IntelliSync. Okay, that's what it was. IntelliSync. Okay, can't do email obviously. All right, so we can press the home button. This is where we get our Palm apps here. So we have a calculator here. No, it's normal calculator. We got calendar, no Bluetooth, like I said. Camcorder, interesting. This can actually record video using a really old school interface here. But yeah, I can record video. It's really terrible, but okay. So let's see. Here's my HPI pack. Yeah, you can tell how grainy this is. This is a 1.3 megapixel camera. So, and you could probably only record like, I don't know, like 20 seconds of video, maybe 15 seconds, something really small like that back then. So I wouldn't even try to record any video as camera. Oh man, see, this is why I didn't take many pictures back then. When you have a camera of this kind of quality, that's why I didn't really use my phone for taking pictures back in university. And that, plus it didn't have enough storage space anyway. Card info, contacts, documents, hot sync, that's how you connected to your PC. No, I don't want to register. Documents to go. How good is this keyboard? Let's do, ooh. You have Excel or Word to go. Which one should I use? I'll use Word to go. Hey guys. I'm typing. Oops. Typing from a palm. Not bad. I mean, this keyboard is not exactly Blackberry keyboard, but it's very similar. So I would say typing on it feels very similar to typing on a Blackberry. Very similar to typing on a Blackberry keyboard. So not bad. Not bad. Here's messaging. SMS back then. Pics and video. I'll tell you something though, if I did have this in 2006, this would actually be pretty fun to use as a main phone. Because, you know, everyone had like flip phones, slider phones, stuff like that. They weren't really smartphones. Like, people who used Windows Mobile and Palm OS and Blackberry were mostly business users. So I think smartphones were used by a minority of the population back then. And I wouldn't have mind having one at that time. My phone did very little back then, right? It couldn't like surf the internet. Well, it could surf the internet. It had a really, really poor web browser, but it couldn't do like, you couldn't install apps on it and stuff like that. It was just like a Samsung feature phone, so you couldn't install like yeah, apps. And Palm OS, you can install apps on it, so that's cool. And it has a much more richer interface, right? Color screen and everything that just kind of pops out at the time. Voice memo, you can surf the internet. Yeah, so this was not Pocket Internet Explorer, but it's this WAP browser thing, Blazor. Yeah, that's not gonna work. You wouldn't want to use it really anyways. This is a world clock. Again, pretty cool. I didn't have this on my feature phone at the time. You can see this world clock type of interface, and yeah, pictures and videos, you can just view them right on the phone. Something I couldn't do with my feature phone either. Yeah, P-Tunes. I wonder what this is. It's a music player. Okay. Wait. Maximum volume. I think I would have to use the SD card to really put my music in here. Not bad for the time. I like that it has a normal headphone jack too. Again, going back to the Samsung that I had in university, that one had a proprietary headphone jack, so I couldn't just use any headphones with it. It's just really annoying. It even plays in the background when you go to the home screen. That's cool. It doesn't, so it's kind of like multitasking. Like, I could just do something else. I could look at my calendar while I'm playing music. You can do that, right? So it does have some multitasking functionality in it. To this day, you can't really have that kind of multitasking functionality doesn't even exist on the iPhone, by the way. Like, you could watch a YouTube video, but you can't minimize the YouTube video, have it play in the background while you're doing something else, right? You have to keep your app on YouTube. So I think it's kind of cool that I could play my music and then go somewhere else. I mean, obviously you could do this with modern smartphones. I'm just saying that it doesn't work with all apps, right? The app doesn't keep running while you're doing another app. Yeah, that's the Palm Treo. I think this is one of the first really visible smartphones when it came out. You know, Blackberry, Motorola Q, Samsung Blackjack, these all kind of came out around the same time. They all had this kind of interface with a physical keyboard at the bottom with a really tiny display. This was what smartphones looked like before the iPhone. And you know, people like to say crap about it and stuff, like, oh, the iPhone changed everything, and it did. But you have to realize that the smartphones back in the day, they weren't actually that bad. Like, installing apps and stuff on it, like I think this could actually, you know, still be pretty cool to use. I mean, I know it's not ideal, but compared to other phones of the time, like compared to the feature phones and stuff, like this was way better. It did way more stuff. And the physical keyboard was actually pretty cool. This is actually pretty well. Yeah, I would like using it. And yeah, going back to physical keyboards, man, like still it's tactile, pretty accurate. Yeah, that's the Palm Treo. All right, and up next after the Palm Treo, we have the Blackberry Torch 9800, which came out in 2010. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is BlackBerry's first slider phone. I know they made a few. Most recently was the BlackBerry Priv, which came out in 2015. I did a video on that. But this one is the old school BlackBerry OS 7. So this is before BlackBerry OS 10, before Android. BlackBerry OS 7 was the old school BlackBerry OS that was available when BlackBerry was in their prime, in their heyday. So a lot of people might have fond memories of using it. And yeah, just going with the specs, 3.2 inch 480 by 360 display. And we have a 624 megahertz processor, 512 megabytes of RAM, 4 gigs of storage, 5 megapixel camera on the back with autofocus, which was decent for the time. You gotta remember this is a 2010. And yeah, this is a interesting phone because it is, I think, their first slider phone. Charges with micro USB, and I think phones were just switching over to micro USB at this time. Before that, they were using mini USB. So micro USB was just starting to become popular. You have volume rockers here, you have headphone jack, of course, necessary back then. And then this is the power button, or not the power button, camera shutter button, because a lot of phones had camera shutter buttons back then. Movable battery, which is kind of important on phones back then. On the top, you actually have some buttons here. You have a lock screen button and you have a mute button to mute the volume. So that's actually clickable. And of course, it slides up with the classic BlackBerry keyboard here, which a lot of people would consider is the best hardware keyboard on a smartphone. That's better than the Palms, better than the Motorola Qs, better than the Samsung Blackjack, all those you know, Nokias and everything like that. Although the Nokia E72 had a pretty decent one, but for most people, the physical keyboard on the BlackBerry is the gold standard for keyboards back then. And of course, you have the classic layout here for BlackBerry, right? You call the BlackBerry menu, go back, and this is hang up, and you have the optical sensor here. So let's turn it on. Yes, this is AT&T. This is the locked model. Okay, this is BlackBerry OS 7. Yes, brings some of you back, does it not? Okay, no messages configured. So of course you have the BlackBerry menu button here, and you have the optical kind of trackpad here. I've already demonstrated some of this with this is the same operating system as the Porsche Design P9981, which I did a video of, but yeah, same kind of operating system, same features here, back. But yeah, this is how smartphones were like back in the day. And call someone like this. Of course, you can also use the keypad to do it, right? And this is a resistive touchscreen, I believe. Actually, no, I don't think it was resistive. I don't think I think it might be a capacitive, but it's a really primitive capacitive touchscreen, so it's not that accurate still. But I think it's still reasonably accurate compared to a resistive. You don't need like a stylus or anything, I don't think. Yeah. Okay. Using search Facebook, or I want to search YouTube. You have your dedicated apps here, because you know they did have apps for this, right? BlackBerry was OS 7 was actually kind of popular back then, so there were a few apps released for it, just like there were for Palm OS and Windows Mobile. Contacts, and create new contact. Right, so you see Mr. Yeah, as many people say, this keyboard very easy to use. A lot of people consider the BlackBerry keyboard the gold standard for hardware keyboards back then. Very, very easy to use. Very tactile feeling, everything. Just type something in and you got it. The BlackBerry Messenger, very popular back then. And browser, of course, is not going to work, but this was the BlackBerry browser. Let's see. What else we have? Options, you can change your wallpaper. I don't want the AT&T. What else can I use? Let's use this one. Looks very serene. Oh, yep. See, it's definitely capacitive because I can use my fingers to pinch and zoom, which is nice. So I'll use this one. Yep. All right. So that's my wallpaper, and I can lock it, I believe. Yep, just locked it. I can press this button to unlock, mute, rockers, right there. So a lot of people, you know, they like to talk about flip phones and how they miss the feeling of closing a flip phone to hang up on someone. Well, when you're using a slider phone, it's actually very similar, because how you would hang up on someone is you would just do this and it hangs up on them, right? So that's pretty satisfying too. To me, it's almost as satisfying as closing a flip phone, honestly. Just like sliding a slider phone down to hang up on someone. It's a good feeling. So I like the mechanism here. Yeah, that's basically it. You guys have seen Blackberry OS 7 already. Yes, I don't have that. We can switch up application. That's like this. Okay, that's this interface. This is kind of a far cry from the multitasking interfaces that we have on phones now, but that's how you switch apps back then. This is BlackBerry Messenger. Yep. We can download this media. So we could do ringtones, music, videos, do most of the stuff you can do on smartphones these days, of course. So this is when BlackBerry was in their prime. They were in their heyday, 2010. BlackBerry OS 7, probably one of the most popular smartphone operating systems at the time. I know Android was probably on its way up. I think Android really did become popular probably in 2010. Yeah, probably the year this came out. Android was going on its way to be the top. But BlackBerry was still reasonably popular. And Windows Mobile was still kind of popular. iOS, of course, also very popular at the time. But what's different from these days is that these operating systems were still relevant, unlike now, right? These operating systems still relevant back in the day, whereas now we kind of have a duopoly going on. You have Android and iOS, a duopoly, right? Back then you had more smartphone operating systems taking up a slice of the cake, so to speak. So they didn't all go extinct like they are now. So it's actually more interesting in my opinion back then. Yeah, that's the BlackBerry Torch. They released a Torch 2, which is very similar, just with faster RAM and processor. I think that's the only difference. And of course the Priv came out in 2015. I already did a video on that, which is running Android. But this is the classic BlackBerry OS 7. It's kind of like the BlackBerry Bold, only it's with a slider. So I love this feeling. You know, like the thing you miss about the old phones with the flip phones or a slider phone is just, man, if I get a fidgety, you know, I don't need a fidget cube anymore. Guys, just open and close your phone, or just like slide it back and forth when I'm getting bored. So you have something to fidget with during meetings. Okay. No, I know. I'm just kidding, guys. That's not the main reason you should buy a slider phone. But anyways, guys, that's it. BlackBerry Torch 9810. Of course, we can see the camera as well. Slide open. This is the camera shutter. Just click the shutter. It has a flash, right? Of course, this camera sucks, so I'm not going to use it. But it's here, and okay. Well, it's there. It's a camera. Anyways, oh, it should shut it. Okay. Anyways, guys, BlackBerry Torch 9800, and that's it. Nice to go over these two kind of forgotten OSs, Palm OS and BlackBerry OS. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching.